Hi all, today we're going to be talking about the Khabarovsk, which I would argue is one of the most rat ships in the game. It's a lot of fun to play, but it's also fairly skill intensive, and it is, most importantly, very equipment and commander dependent. It's available for 240,000 coal in the armory, or you could have it for free if you got it before it was taken out of the Russian destroyer techtree. So the Khabarovsk is, as I mentioned, an open water gremlin destroyer. It's a lot of fun to use, but ultimately its DPM is rather low, and its game impact even less so. It's hard to make very decisive plays or moves in the Kaba. Most of your damage will come from just farming down shitters, and this is also where your game impact will come from as well. You need to farm down shitters and kill them over time. You can't make any big decisive moves like some other destroyers can, but you can sail around, be a general nuisance, be annoying, take fire instead of your teammates, and play like a rat. It's a lot of fun. I like it a lot. So we're going to start with the survivability, work our way down the list through all the equipment, what I recommend with it, and then, of course, we will review a game that I've had with it and kind of show how to play it and what an average game looks like. So, starting with your hit pool, you've got 26.5k HP with Survivability Expert. It's a decent hit pool, it's not amazing, but it is augmented by the armor. You have a big 50mm plate of armor on the side. This is great because bounces literally every AP round in the game. This also sucks because if you are not angled, this arms a lot of AP rounds. And you will eat shit very quickly. If a cruiser knows about this plate, and they load AP on you, you can die fast. Very fast. So, be aware of it, try to be angling whenever you can. Moving on to the guns, you've got 8 130mm guns. They have pretty flat ballistics, their velocity is quite good, their penetration is so-so at 22mm, and their fire chance is also quite decent. These are pretty much the exact same as the Tashkent guns, except you have one more of them, so if you've played up to the Tashkent, you will know what they're like. They're nothing special, they do the job, but they are nothing special. Your torpedoes are pretty useless, you don't use them very often. Sure, they hit for 19.5k damage, and they have only 0.6km detectability range, meaning that if you throw them at someone, they probably will not see them before they hit you. But they've only got 6km of range, and the Kaba likes to stay at range farming. So barring YOLOing, these things are pretty much useless. Your depth charges are useless because submarines are fun counterplay, your AA is pretty much dogshit because carriers are fun gameplay, your maneuverability is weird. You are fast, you get up to 48 knots with engine boost. However, your turning circle is honestly bigger than the entire map ocean, and your rudder shift is complete garbage. It's like 11 seconds stock, and even with a rudder mod, it's down to 8.9. You can get it lower, but we'll talk about that in a moment. Your concealment is also complete dogshit. It's 9.7. I would not even advise building for concealment, as I mentioned, the Kaba is an open water rat gameplay boat, and you want to be detected for reasons that we will get into. Moving into the equipment. Take main armaments 1. You do not want your guns to break on you. For slot 2, engine room protection is fine, but engine boost mod is preferable just for that extra engine time. It's great, it helps you dodge, it makes you go faster, it's worth getting in my opinion. But engine room protection is fine otherwise. In slot 3, take aiming systems. A little bit of dispersion is obviously nice to have, other than that, it's whatever. Honestly, you could take main battery mod too, but the turret traverse is already decent enough, so just take aiming systems. Slot 4, I would go for steering gears because your rudder is complete dog ass and you will almost never be stopping in this thing. You do want speed juke, but the rudder is a bit more valuable here. Slot 5 is weird. Normally, you go for steering gears. If you have it or are you willing to grind for it, you take the unique upgrade. So what the unique upgrade does, the Master Fire Control Director, it gives you 10% more range, 6% more reload, and hits your consumable time by 20%. So overall, your guns get better, your consumables get worse. What this allows you to do is stay a bit further back and gives you a little bit more damage output in exchange for worsening your speed boost and your heal. So, this is a playstyle shift, but I would argue it is a direct upgrade overall. With steering gears, you have to be closer, which makes the rudder more valuable, but with the Fire Control Director, you can be further back, which usually offsets the rudder penalty compared to not having steering gears. And you get a bit more DPM out of it, allowing you to burn people down quicker. I would argue it's an upgrade on the whole, but it's not a necessary pick. I ended up grinding for it because I really wanted it, I like the Kaba, but it is not mandatory by any means, you could just opt for steering gears. And in slot 6, you take main battery mod. It's more reload. Notably, the Khabarovsk cannot take gunfire control system. So, you take main battery mod, because are you really going to build torpedo Khabarovsk? Now, you have a choice. You have the critter build and you have the rat build. The critter build is smoke. If you're playing smoke Kaba, you should kill yourself now. It's completely useless. It's not useless, it's just, why would you play Kaba then? Why not just play like Harugumo or like any other smoke gun DD? It's like, why? It takes all the fun out of Khabarovsk. You really pick heal because it just makes you survive longer. You also get 4 of these, so you survive a long time. As for flags, take Det flag, take the fire flags, take speed flag. Flooding flag is funny if you're going to use the torpedoes. And consumable flag is nice to have, as well as heal flag, because you heal. Moving on is the captain perks. Of the special commanders, Kuznetsov, Ovechkin, and I think there's one other Soviet guy, but I don't remember. I would argue Ovechkin is really nice to have, and Kuznetsov is the best. Obviously, Kuznetsov is great because he gives you the will to victory, where if you get down to 10% HP, it will heal you, and it will immediately damage con. He's just overpowered. If you have him, he's great, but if you don't have him, it's no big deal. The Ovechkin, that is now a few years old, so if you don't have him, you're shit out of luck, is also really nice because he has better survivability expert. Other than that, the default commanders will work fine. As for perks, I would take preventive maintenance because 30% less chance of your engine breaking is nice. Last stand is mandatory as you are an open water DD. Survivability expert is also mandatory because you will get shot at a lot. Fearless Brawler is why I said earlier that you don't build for concealment, because this gives you 10% reload when you're spotted, and given that you are an open water rat destroyer, you're going to be firing all the damn time. Main battery A expert is mandatory, because it gives you 20% more gun range, and the Kaba is severely kneecapped otherwise, as of course you cannot take gunfire control system in slot 6, so you need all the range you can get. This is why the legendary upgrade is also really, really nice. Adrenaline Rush is the best perk in the game. There's no reason not to take it. Superintendent gives you an extra heal and an extra speed boost. At this point, you're left with 1 point, and Grease the Gears is kind of funny. You could take incoming fire if you don't want to look at enemies. Other than that, it's a pretty point-hungry ship. Other perks that would be nice to have include Main Battery A. It's 5% more DPM if you really need it. Demo Expert's nice for the extra fire chance, but it's a pretty hungry ship on points. I found this setup to work the best, but at the end of the day, it is largely up to you. So, we will go into reviewing a match, and I will cut that in. Alright, so here we are. We're on the ice map that I don't remember the name of, and it's a fairly decent matchmaker, all things considered. It's not anything particularly excellent. It's, you know, standard tier 10, not a whole lot of radars, but it's mostly fine in terms of matchmaking. I've already cut us somewhat into first engagement just because you don't really want to see the first dead minutes. I'm not scripting this. This is pretty much just a live voiceover. You know, I'm lazy. So we've headed over to sea because that's where less of our ships were, and first things first is we see this enemy destroyer. And the first thing we do is we start opening fire. As I alluded to in the start of this, the Kaba really wants to be open watering at all times. If you're running Fearless Brawler, you're gaining damage output by being spotted, and, well, given that your entire ship revolves around dealing damage, you gotta be firing to deal damage. So, that's what we do. This is largely Khabarovsk gameplay. If you want to be a true rat, this is what you're going to do as a Khabarovsk. You're going to want to be spotted whenever you can. If there's something you can't shoot at, you're generally going to be shooting at. It's just that simple. If you're firing, well, you're probably doing your things right. Now, you still need to be careful because, well, you can't be stupid, but you need to generally get a good feel of how the Khabarovsk plays, what its maneuverability is, what your ranges are, etc. What you really want are big battleships, or big cruisers with long, super cruisers with long fire times, because obviously they just will print you more damage. But as a whole, if you can see things, you should be firing at them. That's how you're going to get your damage, that's how you're going to set your fires, that's how you're going to make some game impact. But it takes a long time to do this. So here, I'm looking at the map, and I see that based on their positioning, I don't think they're going to go down the 10 line at this point. It's just not really worth committing to the 10 line. That was my original intention, because I figured most people on this map tend to shoot down that 10 line on the side. Doesn't look like it's going to happen this time. So instead, I'm turning back around. I've popped my speed boost to try and close the gap a little bit, as well as just to have speed, assuming that I get into engagement, which, looking at where their ships are on the minimap, is very, very likely. You will know that the audio is muted. That's because I fucked up in the recording, and I had my music capturing, and yeah, so you're just gonna have to listen to my beautiful voice. So again, we see this Regolo, and we just fire on him. I'm not too concerned with actually dealing damage to him, as weird as that might sound. I'm more so trying to get him to shoot back at me so that he'll stay spotted for my team. And I get a hit or two, but it's not really anything meaningful. I just kind of wanted to annoy him, maybe make him waste a smoke. You know the drill. Turning back out, hopefully to reduce the amount of damage I take. It's pretty simple. You're going to be wanting to use the rudder all the time. Keep moving, keep using your speed, just dodge. I don't think the Kaba is a very difficult ship to play, but it's a ship that you need to know the limits on. The acceleration is not great if you don't go for prop mod, and that's where speed boost is your true savior, because it will make you faster. It'll make you a bit more maneuverable. We see the enemy battleships here, and, well, we switch to them. We're going to try and aim for a fire, and then we'll try and switch targets, and you want to maximize the amount of DCP burning that you can do. Obviously, there's no point farming the exact same target if he's just going to DCP, and then you'll have 20 seconds of immunity in the case of a battleship, and there's not a whole lot you can do. We're going to try and set 2 to 3 fires on a target. Hopefully that'll force a DCP. Not always, but, you know, you do what you can. You want to be aiming for superstructures because these guns have really, really tragic penetration otherwise. And continuing to look at the situation, they are mostly on the back foot by now. We're not really doing a whole lot of damage, as you can probably tell. We're only at 19,000. But we're being really, really, really damn annoying. Nobody's actually shot at us yet, which is weird. We have a little bit of potential. Some people have tried to shoot at us earlier, but largely nobody's actually been going for us. And this is good. We're saving a lot of HP. We're sitting pretty much right on the border of our firing range, thanks to our unique upgrade. And we're pretty much in the ideal situation. We're not, like, moving around super fast. We're not actually using our speed as much as we probably should be here. But they're just letting us sit here and farm. We're switching targets over to the Iwami in the middle because he's nothing but free fire at this point. He's not really doing anything. I don't really know what the Iwami's plan is here, but, you know, we're going to aim for a superstructure and we're going to just try and light him up. At this point, I've tried to put the main cap between the main island, the big fuck-off island in the middle of the cap here, between me and the enemy ships, just as a bit of a blocker while I'm farming the Iwami. Ships can't shoot through mountains. It works as great hard terrain cover. And we're just going to keep firing at the Iwami. He's just going to let us fire at him, and I don't know why, but he's just going to let us do this. So moving out to the side now, towards the 10 line, luckily their ships are positioned in a way that lets us work this area a bit better. We've got a lot of cover to work with, so we just keep firing. Are you noticing a trend? If you see ship, and ship is within range, you fire. This is how you make your damage. In World of Warships, shooting enemy ships gives you damage, generally. And in the Kaba, where people are not really shooting at us, we can kind of do this. We take a decent hit here from the Moskva, so what we're going to do is we're going to pop our heal to mitigate the fire damage, and then we're going to turn tail, and we're going to run. Of course, we're going to save our DCP as long as we can, hopefully until we're out of the engagement, but if we take a big chunk here, we'll burn the DCP. I would say you really only need to worry about damage conning when your steering gear breaks, your engine breaks, or if you're just taking a lot of damage in general. It's not really worth damage conning for a torpedo tube, a turret, just because, sure, you'll lose a little bit of DPM, but it won't impact your survivability at all. You really only want to be damage conning things that will actually hurt you, like engine steering gears that are going to reduce your dodging, especially with how sluggish the ship already is. So don't waste your damage con. It is pretty fast reloading, it's a standard destroyer damage con, but still you want to be smart with it. You can get caught out rather, unfortunately. So this Mecklenburg is just kind of gaming. I don't really know what his plan is. I don't understand really what he's doing, to be honest. I don't get what his whole strategy is here. But what I do know is he makes a great target. So we're just going to sink rounds into him. Again, I'm not too worried if my rounds are actually connecting. But, you know, damage is damage. We're just going to farm him. Maybe we'll set him on fire. Maybe we'll force him to burn a damage con so that our teammate here can hopefully make something happen. I'm not really sure what our allies are doing here, but it's not really a huge concern. Honestly, they're just kind of holding. Instead, we're going to be the main problem. I still honestly don't understand why people aren't shooting at me. I'm aware I'm not detected right now, but for some reason a lot of people tend to ignore the Kaba. It's actually rather weird in that sense. People won't shoot at a Khabarovsk because they just kind of mentally give up on hitting it if you dodge enough. And this is funny, don't get me wrong, this is really funny, and it's really, really useful. Keeps you alive longer, lets you shit out some damage, lets you be a giant annoyance, but, you know, it's beneficial. So this Moskva does something weird. He charges directly into the cap. I don't know why. I genuinely don't know what his plan is here. And conveniently, we actually pre-torp here. He's getting close. I feel like he's probably just going to charge directly into us, so I drop torpedoes. This is probably the only time I've actually used torpedoes recently in the Khabarovsk. They don't come up often, but, you know, they have their use. This Moskva's putting a lot of damage into us. Unfortunately, our damage con is down, which is unfortunate, but, you know, we do what we can. We're just going to keep running away from him, angling, jerking the rudder, you know, trying to dodge. And we land a torp right on the nose, and it's a flooding. This is convenient. It's not a huge source of damage, but it is an annoyance, and I believe his damage con is down as well from a prior fire we set on him, so it should be permanent. People in chat are already saying GG because the Reds are honestly kind of throwing at this point, and we have such superior map control, but that's not really our worry. We laugh at chat, but we choose not to participate in it because we can just farm this Moskva instead. So what this Moskva does is he decides to use the cover. He decides to use the island, and this doesn't really benefit him. I believe our cruiser over here is hydroing. Actually, never mind, we don't even have a cruiser. That shows you how much I'm paying attention to this match. Point is, the Moskva's still detected, and he can't really do anything. It's only a benefit for us. He really should have stayed out, and he probably could have killed us if he really wanted to, but he doesn't. So instead, we just keep turning out, we keep firing, we keep burning damage on the battleships, and they won't be able to cap. See, they're too scared to push our battleship here because I'm here. I'm just being a giant fucking annoyance. I'm not putting out a ton of damage. My damage isn't bad. I'm at 112k. But they're not really dealing with me. And because they're not dealing with me, they're probably scared. They're thinking, this damn Khabarovsk is just firing at me. So they won't push. So in a weird way, the Khaba's is actually a decent area denial ship because when you're just firing like this, you're just holding the trigger. Since you're being a giant fucking annoyance, people are too scared to push. And this is really quite nice. We do get the fire kill on the battleship because he burned his damage con earlier. And like an idiot, I proceed to run into the island. Now, this Moskva is just straight up not aware, so this doesn't actually punish me. But try to be mindful of the terrain. That move very easily could have gotten me killed if there were smarter enemies. I don't know why the Moskva chose not to capitalize on the fact that I was clearly running into the island like a dumbass. But please, please be very, very mindful of terrain. Since you're going to be open water just farming a lot of the time, it's easy to get lost where you are and easy to just drive straight into a fucking rock. Try not to let this happen. If it does, and if the enemies actually know what they're doing, you'll take a lot of damage most of the time. I got lucky here, but it's not something you should be striving to do. At this point, the game is pretty much won. We have such a significant point advantage, and we have a decent ship advantage that it's hard for us to lose at this point. Now, I know the island icon is in the way here, but I'm still firing. Because sometimes the island lies to you. Sometimes you can actually fire over it, and the game just decides, nah. This Slava is just going to choose to rush. At this point, he doesn't really have anything he can do. The Ohio is just going to ram him, or at least attempt to ram him. And the Slava doesn't really commit here. Honestly, the Slava, what he should be doing is he should be driving by and should be trying to full sit the Ohio, preparing for that. He doesn't. He blunders this really, really hard. So, we use our torpedoes because we just happen to be close enough. We know the Slava's not looking at us, so we can just farm. The Slava isn't really that smart here. He blunders an easy kill on the Ohio, and while he would have died to it no matter what, because I'm here with my torpedoes, he just blunders. I did underlead the torpedoes a little bit because I thought he would keep turning in towards the Ohio, but it's fine. We catch enough runs on the back in order to kill him. And at this point, nothing really happens for the rest of the game. Honestly, I don't really think anything notable happens. I check my adrenaline rush because I'm one of those players. And I'm wrong. We do actually end up finding their enemy Shima. It's a 17-9 Shima, so make of that what you will. I don't really know what his game plan is, but my monkey brain sees, haha, ship, I fire. And that's what we do. We keep trying to blind fire him. We don't get too lucky with it, unfortunately. But I figured, you know, the Shima, he's probably not that smart. He might try and stay still in his smoke just to not get shot at. So we try and blind fire him. It doesn't really work, but, you know, we give it a try. We'll just wait for our other destroyer to push in this point. We start turning in, hopefully just to farm a kill. At this point, the game is already turned. We're just trying to maximize our own damage here. And our Holland pushes in, spots the Shima, and this is game. This is just game. He just dies. I don't really know what his game plan is, but we get the win. It's pretty cool. If I do say so myself, we ended 160k damage, which is not bad by any means. And of course, pulled up all the stats, checked the team score, I'm top of the board, it's that easy, that's Khabarovsk monkey mode for you. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you all again another time. Bye.